Jerron Boots Ennis has been convinced by his promoter, Ed Hearn, to finally make that move from welterweight to 154 pounds, despite wanting to self-proclaim himself as an undisputed champion at welterweight, which is where his real desire was, according to what he has shared with friends, fans. But Hearn has done most of the talking for him, even though when he said, "If you didn't hear it come from me, disregard it." I think that Jerron is being led in a path that is not being the most beneficial for he. But only he is going to have to see the light. But we're going to find out very soon what's going on with him. And it may not be the best thing for him, but it's what's going to be next. Let's talk about the announcement that was made just a few days ago about Ennis and his move to 154 pounds. Ed Hearn is a figure in boxing that has garnered a lot of controversy around him and his whole manner of promoting, managing fighters and their career paths. And two fighters in the past year and a half have signed up with allegiances to he and Matchroom. That be Shakur Stevenson and Jerron Boots Ennis. As far as Ennis goes, he was supposed to be the fighter that could turn the switch after things settled between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. But it really hasn't gone in the most positive direction for Ennis since then. He still wanted to be undisputed. He wanted to fight for the other titles after receiving a label, of becoming the IBF email champion when Terrence Crawford discarded the IBF title, finally releasing it after moving up to 154 pounds. Crawford now is going to move up 2 weight classes to face Canelo Alvarez for his undisputed 168-pound title. And that left Ennis looking for a dance partner. Enter Ennis Stanionis, he who had been on the shelf for a while due to delays and ultimately avoidance when he and Virgil Ortiz Jr. were supposed to face one another several years ago. But due to health concerns for Ortiz and several delays and rescheduling of a match, Ortiz just finally ended up moving up to 154 pounds, leaving Stanionis in the welterweight division, but without a foe. Now, Ennis said, hey, let's fight Stanionis. And they tossed the WBA title in there because Stanionis didn't really win it from another fighter. Remember, Crawford vacated. So, just a few days ago, Ed Hearn announced that Jaron is moving up to 154 pounds, and the welterweight titles that he maintained after his victory over Eimantas Stanionis back in April, those titles will now be vacated as he moves up. Now, we know that if you hold on to one of those titles, it'll put you in a position to fight for a title in the next weight class, particularly the WBA, right? But Ennis is not going to hold out for an opportunity like that. He's just going to go right on in and face someone else without even fighting for the title. Interesting. Why? Because we've seen guys move up and face the next guy at the division with a title. Crawford did it when he moved up and fought Madrimov. Ennis can go up to super welterweight and face the likes of Sebastian Fandora or Bakram Murtazaliev or Virgil Ortiz Jr. But that's not what he wants to do. But Hearn wants him there. Ortiz Jr. has said that it'll be a while. Ennis has to wait in line for him to face him. I really don't know what's going on with Jaron Boots Ennis. For a man who is as talented as he is, he seems to be going down a path that is familiar to the likes of Demetrius Andrade. Not to crap on Andrade, but all of this indecisiveness about his career, thinking that he can make more money over here and better deal over there, it left him on the outskirts of the boxing scene when he should have been in the midst with the talent that he had. So, according to an article, Hearn says that he wants Ennis to fight a gatekeeper in his debut at 154 in August, and then fight WBC interim junior middleweight champion Virgil Ortiz before the end of the year. He says he would like to make the next fight for August 16th, but he wouldn't have a date ready at that time. I wonder who Hearn considers a gatekeeper, because the super welterweight division is chock full of talent, and there are named fighters there who should be vying for title shots way before Ennis gets consideration. unless he had one of those belts that he was holding on to, the IBF or WBA, moving up. But he's coming up empty-handed. And let us not also forget, it was just a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks, that Brian Norman Jr., who has an upcoming fight this June 19th against Jin Susaki, Hearn was trying to make a deal, lock the Norman camp down with an offer for a fight, for unification. 2 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden, Ennis is putting his body through hell to make weight at 147. What is all this posturing? What is all of this to do about nothing? Because that's exactly what's happening with Ennis's career. Nothing. He didn't get credit for defeating Stanionis. They were very dismissive of Stanionis. Even I was high on Stanionis at one time, but I know that a lot of the inactivity and politics of boxing have made some of the fights grow stale and some of the fighters even more stale. So Ennis, now, with his record of 34-0 with 30 KOs, is going to move up to the super welterweights and try to take on someone up there. However, a gatekeeper at super welter, I don't know. You see, the weight divisions have men who are very, very talented. And presently, I don't know who he may try to face at the division. But he's going to have to face someone with talent and ability. Talent and ability. Is that happening? I don't know. There are a number of fighters, too many to name, but I don't see any gatekeepers in the super welterweight division. I see some guys who may have taken a loss or two, but no one whom I consider a fighter that's relegated to being considered a gatekeeper. Is Jaron Ennis being pushed aside for the likes of Conor Benn to scoop in and pick up a title? Manny Pacquiao coming back to face Mario Barrios for the WBC welterweight title that Barrios holds presently has leapfrogged over all these other contenders and fighters who were looking for the opportunity to unify against Barrios. And Barrios, instead of trying to work toward legacy, has been holding out for a financial opportunity. There's too much of this in the sport of boxing, and it's time to see fighters just fight. But even that is becoming more difficult because they are reluctant. No one wants to do what's necessary, and that is take on fights, responsibilities. We're seeing right now, presently, Brian Norman Jr. is going to Japan. Terrence Crawford is moving up, challenging himself. Some people are saying he's just doing it for the payday. Jai Opataya is looking for an opportunity at cruiserweight. Zurdo Ramirez is hanging him out to dry. He doesn't want to face Opataya. He's had 2 opportunities now. He's got a fight coming up on the undercard of the Jake Paul event in July. But he could have been facing Opataya for unification. You see, all this posturing and boxing is much to do about nothing. These fighters just are not like the guys of old. And when I say that, I'm talking about the guys who would just meet one another, break bread, and form legacy. Have an attachment here and thereafter when the careers have come to an end. Nobody's going to remember all of these guys who picked up titles from the ground where someone else has dropped the title. You're not winning against another fighter in the ring. Why should we consider you at all? It's something that really makes the stomach churn when you think about it, because all we want is to see quality matches. And there have been so many occasions where the best are no longer fighting the best. It's almost disrespectful. And they want to be called great. They want to label themselves as the man, the face of boxing. Well, that face that they've put on for the sport of boxing is quite ugly. And I would like to find out where Ennis is going to find a gatekeeper at 154 when he could have fought the other champions, make the proper deals at 147. But he and his management and promoter couldn't do that. But what do you think? This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think about these bum moves that are being made on behalf of Jaron Ennis and his career. And do you think he's ever going to get it together? Leave comments and let's discuss further. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.